to me. I want to do that, but I want to slide of the temple first. Wait till David gets up there. As I mentioned here, thank you for that. Now, this is the way that the water will come out. Be to the side of the door here. Goes in, it'll come out this way, down, then into the Kidron Valley there, go across, because there's going to be a cavern right in here. I mean, after you leave here, after you leave the temple area, there'll be a cavern in there. Come on, Brother David. And the water will flow into that cavern, which is very shallow at first, but it's a big stream. Be very swift. And then it will go down into the valley. It mentions 1,000 cubits, which will be 1,500 feet, and then it's getting deeper all the time until because it's going through a valley now, which there's no valley there now. The Mount of Olives is there in the way of it, but then there's going to be an earthquake. I just will to say it that way because that's what it's going to be. Earthquake, but it is when Jesus, as we read there from Zechariah, the 5th chapter, the 14th chapter, 5th verse, and there where the Lord himself will stand up on the Mount of Olives, of which he left from, and his saints with him. So the bride of Jesus Christ is going to be there to evidently see what is taking place at that time. So we have that to take place, which the water will get deeper and deeper until it gets to the Dead Sea, and then of course it's going into the Great Sea, which is the Mediterranean from the other standpoint. So it's going to be a gusher. That's what it's going to be. But somewhere underneath Jerusalem today, the water is already there. It just has to be an outlet for it to come out, and that outlet will let it come out and go through the valley that earthquake is made, which will be more or less in a small way like the Grand Canyon, because they say that the river done that, but I don't believe that. The river that's there is not big enough, because there had to be an earthquake somewhere for 270 miles there in the Grand Canyon. There had to be. The river is there, and I'm sure that the river done something there, but there had to be, no matter what they say, there had to be an earthquake there to divide that like it is, because you can almost see the connection between the two mountains there on each side, which the place we were at was, when we went to Grand Canyon, was 10 miles across, and it looked like these two girls, I heard talking to their dad, he asked them, said, how far is it across there, would you think? She said a mile, one of them said a mile, and right there was a chart right there, said 10 miles across. It's really deceiving whenever you look at something like that, but this is what it's going to be. It looks impossible now, but with God, all things are possible. And of course, as I said this morning, there's going to be trees on each side all the way up to Jerusalem, because he goes back to the brink of it, which would be the beginning. So I wanted to say that before I go on in to that. And then, as I mentioned a while ago about the sons of strangers, as we looked at it in Isaiah, there the 60th chapter, we see the sons of strangers is not will be the ones that are more or less living now, that they have children. I remember Brother Jackson going over that. They will have children, and those children, which are already alive, they're a smart bunch of people there, because what they have done, they have put their minds to understanding instead of walking the streets and demonstrating like they have here. America has lost its equilibrium. Amen. Because the young people don't even believe in God now. They don't believe in nothing. Right. And some of the things that Brother Kevin has talked about, and all about, I know what he's talking about. Some of the things that is going on, even among people that supposed to be believers. But it's going to be the sons of strangers, as Brother Jackson mentioned there, that will be more or less from India, which is very smart young people, and from China, from those people that, and Brother Jackson said they'll break away from their parents' religion. I saw something that's showing these Buddhist temples and all there in China and all that are still there, and in India they're showing some of them, which they were really built to be something at one time, but these young people will say, I don't believe that anymore. It's not brought us anything. It's not brought us life. It's not brought us happiness. It's all been sadness, so they'll break away from their parents. I remember Brother Jackson going over that. They'll break away and they'll say, the only God there is the God of Israel. That's where God is working, is Israel. So that will be the sons of the strangers. And these will be the ones that will be accepted into Israel as citizens. Right. They will have their citizenship there, but they will have their children there. And no doubt that they're going to live among their own kind. I mean, have the children of their own kind and all, but it's because it calls them strangers. But the thing about it is, they're the ones that build up Israel's walls, and they're the ones that has been a blessing to Israel because of their ingenuity. There are no smarter people on earth tonight than those of Israel, but they're not builders so much. They're scientists. They're people of knowledge, of medicine, and stuff of that nature. But Israel, they'll be farmers, some of them. Because Israel has never been that great at farming. They wasn't. Because they had so much trouble in their land that a lot of it was war. Just continual warfare. And of course, what they done, they made a mistake. They made a big mistake, because what they done, they took those people that were in the land which they were to get rid of, and they made them pay tribute and work for them. That is when that Israel was first began, whenever they were in the land. They made these people to be people that would be farmers or shepherds or whatever. Right now in Israel, who's got the sheep? Who's got the goats? It is Arabs. This is the way that it is. But Israel's farms now are producing, and then I'm not saying they won't be farmers, but there are going to be people there that God has put in their heart to fulfill His will, to do the right thing, which are not Jews. And so they're going to have, of course, the leadership in that day, in the millennium, is going to be different than what it is now. And they're going to recognize people that have done something for them. The majority of Jews today over there are melancholy. I'm not saying they will be then, but now they are, because they're willing to give up land. The northern tribes especially are willing to give up what they've got in order to have peace. You can't have peace with Arabs. I'm not saying every Arab, but that Muslim type Arab is not peaceful. They will never have peace as long as they're there. That's why that they will be far removed. God will get rid of them in the time to come. So, as I look at the temple there, see the water will flow from there, because underneath here someplace, underneath, what is not all Israel now, but underneath here, underneath this, that will be built. Another thing, why is it just partially built before the millennium starts? Why is it? One thing is because there's going to be an earthquake. There will be an earthquake that will take place there that is really going to shake Israel. It will, whenever that divides there. But God knows how far to go. We never know how far to go with anything, but God does. I just thought, being that question was asked me, that I would go into that a little bit. So, may the Lord bless you tonight. I want to go back to Ezekiel to kind of finish up Ezekiel tonight, because I'm not finishing the message, but to finish up Ezekiel. The temple, the city, and all of the surroundings are finished in chapter 46. But now then, whenever we're looking at this, we're going backward. Whenever you look at chapter 47, you're going back to a beginning of when the bride will come back with the Christ. But looking at 40 through 46, then you've got the temple finished, which the temple will not be finished. I'm not talking about the temple, but I'm talking about the city now. Right. The city will not be finished in 5 or 10 years. Because why? Your population is gone. It's going to take time to get this back to where that it represents chapter 46. Can you understand that? Can you understand that it's going to take time to rebuild? Because as we look at chapter 48, then you've got more. Your city is spread out even more than it was in 45 and 46. We'll see that because it's here, and there's a reason for it. Because right in the heart of Judah is where the city starts. Then it extends over to Benjamin. That will be the edge of the city suburbs and all, which whenever we get to it, it's really 2,500 rods or plus 2,500 rod we'll see in a minute. So it is a square that is designated for the city and for its suburbs. Because why? Because as I've gone over it, because the high priest, which will be the leader, he will be both leader and prince. That's the way it was when Jesus was here. The high priest had the say over what was to be done. They had to say whenever Jesus was crucified. Chapter 48. Now these are the names of the tribes. I want to go back to my chart on the David kingdom. He done beat me. We start at the north. See, the tribes now then, there's not any difference in them. All the difference that has been there will be resolved. If you count this from here to here, which in the chart, it's over 600 miles. So, that's what it is from here to Florida. Because Georgia's about 400 miles going through. A long state. I'm talking about from here to the edge of Florida. It's about 600 miles. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north into the coast of the way of Hethlon. As one goeth to Hamath, Hazarion, the border of Damascus northward, and the coast of Hamath, to the coast of Hamath. For these are his sides, east and west, a portion for Dan, away up here. Now these people got to come to worship the Lord every Sabbath. Going to be a fast way of travel. You take in China and places like that, they got trains go 300 miles an hour. So they've got to have a fast way of travel in order to get there. And by the border of Dan, from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Asher. And by the border of Asher, from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Naphtali. See, we're coming down here. This is different than it was in the days of David. You only, from Jerusalem down, you only had 2 tribes, which would have been Simon and Judah. Well, this is going to be different because you've actually got 5 below Judah. And the reason for that, I've gone over. Why is the reason for that? One thing is because they got water now. Amen. They didn't in the days of David. Because what had happened? You already had the Dead Sea from the time of Lot. That was at one time a well-watered place as you go back to Lot. Why did he choose Sodom? Because it was well watered. And when God done something, what did he do? He just hollowed out the ground, covered Sodom and Gomorrah with ashes, with rocks, burnt rocks, because they spewed up out of the ground as sulfur. That is why the place is dead. It takes a water. Living water. Amen. Not a cesspool, but living water. Amen. And by the border of Asher from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Naphtali. And by the border of Naphtali from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Manasseh. What did I read in that 47th chapter this morning? 2 portions for Joseph. Here you are. Because there had to be 12 tribes. And then you've got the tribe of, you've got the tribe of Levi, which is not mentioned as a place of inheritance, because his inheritance is the city. He's not a farmer. See, here's the 2 tribes that make up 2 portions of Joseph. And by the border of Manasseh, from the east side and to the west side, a portion for Ephraim. That is the 2 tribes for Joseph. Instead of Joseph here, it's got the names of his 2 sons. Because of his obedience to God. There in Genesis. By the border of Ephraim, from the east side and to the west side, a portion for Reuben, and by the border of Reuben, from the east side and to the west side, a portion for Judah. Now we come into something here of where the city is. He's given out the portions, but when it comes to here, this is different. And by the border of Judah from the east side unto the west side shall be the offering which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds. 25,000 reeds. I said 2,500, I think. In breadth. Breadth is the width. And in the length, as one of the other parts from the east side into the west side. The sanctuary shall be in the midst of it. In the midst of what? In the midst of Judah. The oblation that ye shall offer unto the Lord shall be of 5,020 in length, and of 10,000 in breadth. That is the holy part. That is the part where the city is and its suburbs and everything that is given to the Levite tribe. Does this make any sense, or am I just talking out of my head? And for them, even for the priest, shall be this holy oblation toward the north 25,000 in length, and toward the west 10,000 in breadth, and toward the east 10,000 in breadth, and toward the south 25,000 in length. And the sanctuary of the Lord shall be in the midst thereof. Now he's mentioning south and north and south, which is all the same. Whenever he mentions it, east and west is the same thing, because he's mentioning it twice here. We've done gone over this in chapter 45 and 46. But God seemed to want to repeat it. He's saying, do you get it?
Amen. Right.
And for them, even for the priests, shall be this holy oblation. Toward the north 25,000 in length, and toward the west 10,000 in breadth, and toward the east 10,000 in breadth, and toward the south 25,000 in length. And the sanctuary of the Lord shall be in the midst thereof. It shall be for the priest that are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, which have kept my charge, which went not astray when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. You see the difference here of what the sons of Zadok really get. This is their portion. God looks upon a life.
Yes. Amen.
Zadok, what was he? He was a man that kept the word of God when everybody else went astray. When all the Levites went astray, they began to worship other gods. He kept it straight. That's the reason that it's so important here.
Right. Amen. Yes.
Don't look on your neighbor as what they do.
Right. Amen.
Young people, if somebody else is doing wrong that you know, even if they go here,
Amen.
don't do it.
Right.
God's got a memory.
Yes. Amen.
God's got feelings.
Amen.
And this oblation, 12th verse, and this oblation of the land that is offered shall be unto them a thing most holy by the border of the Levites. And over against the border of the priests, the Levites shall have 25,000 in length, and 10,000 in breadth. All the length shall be 25,000, and the breadth 10,000. And they shall not sell it, neither exchange, nor alienate the first fruits of the land, for it is holy unto the Lord. The fruits, as he talks about fruits here, that is what is gathered in of grain, of fruit that grows on trees, of nuts, of grapes. This is what is gathered in. It is gathered in the first fruits. You see what happened in Malachi whenever the people offered the worst of their animals. He says, will a man rob God? Where have we robbed you? We brought stuff. He said, you brought your sick animals. You didn't bring the first fruits. this is not just for the ministry of that hour. That's for the blessing of Israel to be upon their houses, upon their lands. Because it said it will flow with milk and honey. Verse 15. And the 5,000 that are left in the breadth over against the 25,000 shall be a profane place, which is the city. This is Judas. For the city, for dwelling, and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof. Why would he say that? The city shall be in the midst thereof, because there's something else to be added. And these shall be the measures thereof. The north side 4,500. See, this is another measure. This is talking about the heart of the city. Profane place. Rest of it is suburbs. This is where the children of Israel are represented. You'll see that later on. And these shall be the measures thereof. The north side 4,500, which is something over 6 miles. In the 7-mile area, that is how wide it is, but it's 25,000 reeds long. But this is in the heart of that of which makes up the city itself. And the south side 4,500, and on the east side 4,500, and the west side 4,500. See, he squared out a place for the main part of the city. The rest of it is suburbs.
Right.
See, God never makes anything oblong. He squares it up. Remember what I said there. That this is for the 12 tribes of Israel. For their trading, for the measurement of this, and the suburbs of the city shall be toward the north 250, and toward the south 250, and toward the east 250, and toward the west 250. Sees another measurement. And the residue in length over against the oblation of the holy portion shall be 10,000. See, you've got another 10,000. You got 10, 5, and 10 again. And it shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion, and the increase thereof shall be for food unto them that serve the city. And they shall serve the city, and they that serve the city shall serve it out of all the tribes of Israel. Everybody has got a part. God is being good to them. He's blessing them because every tribe has a part in this. You'll see that. And all the oblation shall be 25,000 by 25,000. See? Square. You shall offer the oblation foursquare with the possession of the city. This is all an offering right out of the tribe of Judah. And then we're going to see that the prince or the high priest has his portion in this. And the residue shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other side of the holy oblation. See? And of the possession of the city over against the 25,000 of the oblation toward the east border, and westward over against the 25,000 toward the west border, over against the portion for the prince. And it shall be a holy oblation, and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the midst thereof. How many times does God repeat that? He's saying, do you get it? How many times does he mention the measurement? He's wanting somebody to get it. Of course, Israel will. But he's drilling this into their heads. Because he knows he's still dealing with a natural people. Well, what does that mean to the bride? It's because it's here. And of the possession of the city over against the 25,000 of the oblation toward the border, and westward over against the 25,000 toward the west border, over against the portion for the prince, and it shall be the holy oblation, and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the midst thereof. Moreover, from the possession of the Levites, and from the possession of the city being in the midst of that which is the prince's, because the border of Judah, between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin, shall be for the prince. See, it goes all the way down here to Jerusalem, which is Judah's. And then beyond that, as you go beyond that, then that will be Benjamin's before he was up here. So what God is going to do from Jerusalem on down, all the way down near the Red Sea, He's given this land to Israel, and it's going to be prosperous. Just like it was before the sea become dead. Because he's going to send healing water. Then he goes into the others. By the border of Benjamin, from the east side and to the west side, Simon shall have a portion. See, Simon is next to Benjamin now. Instead of next to Judah, he's next to Benjamin. And by the border of Benjamin, from the east side and to the west side, Simon shall have a portion. And by this border of Simon, from the east side and to the west side, Issachar a portion. And by the border of Issachar, from the east side and to the west side, Zebulun a portion. And by the border of Zebulun, from the east side and to the west side, Gad a portion. And by the border of Gad, at the south side, southward, the border shall be even from Tamara unto the waters of strife, which is Kadesh, and the river toward the great sea. This is a land which ye shall divide by lot unto the tribes of Israel of inheritance. And these are the portions, saith the Lord God. See, it's him speaking.
Hey.
After it's all finished, that he is speaking to Ezekiel, he says, this is thus saith the Lord. From 40 through 48, this is God speaking about the land, about the holy portion, about the temple, about the dividing of the mountain there, which we've gone into, the Mount of Olives. This is all thus saith the Lord. And here he goes a little further. These are the goings out of the city on the north side. 4,500 measures. See, we go back to where he's saying. This is the portion of the city that belongs to the children of Israel. Why? I tell you, this just matches up with the city that is to come down.
Yes, amen.
As you go into chapter 21, you see it there of Revelation. These are the goings out of the city on the north side from 4,500 measures, and the gates of this city shall be for the names of the tribes of Israel, 3 gates northward, 1 for Reuben, 1 gate for Judah, 1 gate for Levi. See, Levi is mentioned again. Because of the 12 tribes of Israel. He's not mentioned in this, but he's got a gate there. One of the gates. See, I've done gone over that 4,500. Which is right in the middle of the portion that is for the city, which is the profane place, as it says. And at the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates, 1 gate for Joseph. Now, he's not mentioning Manassas anymore, because he's bringing it back in line of how that it started. Joseph, and Joseph, there's 2 tribes. But it goes back to the singular. Because why? Why wouldn't it be what it was the other time? Because they have Levi has his portion inside the city, but a gate is named after him. Make any sense? And at the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates, and 1 gate of Joseph, and 1 of Benjamin, and 1 of Dan. When Brother Branham was going over this, in chapter 7 of Revelation, he said, see, Dan and Ephraim is left out. Well, Ephraim wasn't left out. Because Manasseh is mentioned and Joseph is mentioned, which Joseph would be Ephraim. And on the south side, 4,500 majors and 3 gates, 1 for Simon, 1 for Issachar, 1 for Zebulun, the south side. And at the west side, 4,500 with the 3 gates, 1 for Gad, 1 gate for Asher, and 1 for Naphtali. It was round about 18,000 measures. He's going around all the way around the circumference of it now, which is 18,000. 4 times 4 is 16, and you've got 4 halves. God knows his measurements. He's a scientist. He got a laboratory that you wouldn't believe, because he made the world out of his laboratory.
Praise the Lord.
If they say that it was caused by an explosion, there had to be something there for it to explode by.
Right.
It wasn't a mistake. God didn't get burnt. Because he was before everything. And you were before everything.
Amen.
You were in his thoughts before he ever made anything. Before there's ever a big bang. Before he ever done what he did. You was already there. Because, why? It was like a man sitting down with a blueprint. Only God is using his blueprint for stars, for the moon, for the sun, and for everything that is out there. He is thinking this, but you was before that. Because why? This is all has a beginning, but you were in eternity. You were in God when he created this thing.
Hallelujah. Amen. That's right. Hallelujah.
It was round about 18,000 majors. And the name of the city from that day shall be, the Lord is there.
Amen.
The Lord is there. That city will still be there
Yes.
whenever the millennium is over. Where is it? When Gog and Magog approach the holy city. It is Jerusalem. That old Russian spirit just don't die. But it will. It will be cast into hell. Because God has let it live in a what they call it when a hibernated state. God has let the devil live in a hibernated state for 1,000 years. Then he gets his last puff of fresh air. And then after that, he's cast in with everybody else that has gone there. I love the Word of God.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
I appreciate His Word.
Yes. Amen.
I want to go back to Zechariah for a few minutes. Probably won't hold you too long tonight. We go back to the 14th chapter of Zechariah. I stopped this morning at the 8th verse because that was what that I was wanting to deal with, and I was dealing with the river that issues. It's a river. It's not a creek. It's not a little branch. Because it said by the time that it gets to that mile and a 16th, let's put it that way, or a mile and a 10th, what is it? It's a river that takes us to swim in. Let us look at that again. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea, in summer and in winter. I was asked a question one time. Will there be summer and winter? I had to think. It's been a few years ago. I had to think. Then I thought of this verse. Summer and winter. Then later on I found in Genesis chapter 8. Verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest. That goes into eternal age. Cold and heat. Summer and winter. And day and night shall not cease.
Right. Amen.
As long as this earth stands.
Praise the Lord. Yes.
Why? Why does it take winter? Why is the ice caps there? We got this cold spell that come down. It didn't come from Canada. It come further than that. It's God's ice box to keep coolness upon this earth. You got the North Pole, you got the South Pole. Summer and winter. Now, I want to go to verse 9, which I didn't include this morning because I had a purpose in it, of Zechariah 14. See, God will take a verse. If I had the means to do so, I would put some verses up there and put this one verse there and let it stick out. God does it that way.
Amen.
Because it's eternal.
Yes.
This goes beyond what he's talking about in verse 8. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth.
Amen.
That's not the millennium. Because Jesus Christ is going to rule and reign throughout the millennium. And then when you come into the eternal age, it's going to be God, as it is recorded in the 15th chapter of 1 Corinthians.
Amen.
He must rule until every enemy is under his feet. And the last enemy is death. That is the last enemy, and death will be done away with.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
See, we're in eternal age now. And that, let me finish reading this. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Lord, and his name one.
Amen.
It all goes back to God.
Amen.
I know you do.
Praise the Lord.
Let me go to 1 Corinthians. Because I said, what did it say whenever I begin to talk about this? What is my subject? Anybody know what the subject is? Millennium and beyond. The beyond is what that we're talking about right now. 1 Corinthians 15. But now is Christ risen from the dead, verse 20, and become the first fruits of them that slept. He was the first one to ever raise from the dead. Not the first one to be raptured. Because you've got Elijah, and you got it, and you've got, oh, my thinking left me. Enoch. They're in heaven. So is Old Testament saints now. But Christ had to be the first one to raise from the dead. These did not raise from the dead. They didn't die. And these preachers you got today says it has to be Elijah and it has to be Enoch because they never did die and they're going to have to come back and die. Hogwash! For since man came, for since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. He's talking about Adam and he's talking about Christ. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Christ the firstfruits. Afterward, they that are Christ at his coming. That's bride people. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God. That is after the millennium. Even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he had put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. For he hath put all things under his feet. That is Jehovah.
Amen.
But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifested that he is accepted, which did put all things under him. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all.
Yes, amen. Praise the Lord.
What a day
Yes. Amen.
that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace, and he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. Y'all sound beautiful. Let's keep it up. That's beautiful. I'm not a cappella. Brothers, when my Jesus I shall see, when I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace, and he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, glorious day that will be. There'll be no sorrow there, no more burdens to bear, no more sickness or pain, no more parting over there. Forever I will be the one who died for me. What a day, glorious day that will be.
Oh, what a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace, and when he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. Oh, what a day, a glorious day that will be. Now there'll be no sorrows there, no more burdens to bear, no more sickness, no pain, and no more parting over there. Oh, and forever I will be, oh, with the one who died for me. Oh, what a day, glorious day that will be. Oh, what a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace, when he takes me by the promised land. Oh, what a day, a glorious day that will be. Amen. If anybody has a need, you can come on. E. Shadows fall all around us, and